Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Ready to explore some more fascinating stuff with me?
Always.
Awesome. Today, we're going deep into The Four Agreements, a book by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Hmm.
It's been called like a guide to, personal freedom and happiness, and it's rooted in ancient Toltec wisdom.
Yeah, it's really all about, imagine a society where your words, actually have the power to shape reality.
Whoa,
That's the essence of Toltec wisdom.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
But like, how does this ancient wisdom, how does it apply to us today?
Well, think about all the challenges we face, especially as
Oh,
millennials
yeah?
navigating this crazy world. The Four Agreements offer a practical guide to help us with those challenges, I think.
Intriguing.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
let's break it down.
Sure.
The first agreement is be impeccable with your word.
Right.
What's so special about words?
So Ruiz compares words to spells that actually program our minds.
Oh, wow.
From childhood, the words we hear, especially from authority figures,
Yeah.
they shape our beliefs, they shape our perceptions. It's like they write this book of law in our minds.
It's not just about being polite then.
No, no, no.
It's about recognizing like the serious impact our words have
Yes.
on ourselves and others.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper. Ruiz uses the term domestication to describe how these early influences, they really shape our reality.
So it's like we're trained to see the world
Yes.
through a specific lens.
Yes.
And that lens can be, limiting.
Very limiting. Precisely. The Four Agreements offer a way to break free from this domestication and create a more empowering reality for ourselves.
So it's like taking control of the narrative that's
Exactly.
been playing in our heads since childhood.
Exactly. And that starts with being aware of the words we use, both internally and externally.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how be impeccable with your word, like this first agreement,
Yeah.
is the foundation for the other agreements.
You got it. It's about consciously choosing words that align with the reality we want to create,
Okay.
not the one that's been given to us.
Let's say you're constantly criticizing yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That negative self-talk, it's actually shaping your self-image.
It really is. Those words are creating those spells that keep you stuck in self-doubt and limitation.
So if you want to change your reality,
Yeah,
you have to start by changing your language.
exactly. And remember, be impeccable with your word applies to how you interact with others too,
Oh, of course.
not just yourself.
Yeah, like how often do we gossip, complain, spread negativity?
All the time.
Right?
And those words, they're also creating spells that impact the world around us.
Ruiz even shares a story, right, about a man who sees a woman yelling at her young son.
Yeah, I remember that.
And years later, the emotional scars from her words, they're still there.
It's a powerful reminder that our words have a lasting impact, We have a responsibility to use them wisely.
So you're saying that being impeccable with our word is not just about, like, avoiding hurtful language.
No, no, no.
It's about using words to create a more positive and empowering reality.
Absolutely. It's about speaking with integrity, with kindness and truth.
Powerful stuff. Okay, but what about when other people's words hurt us? That brings us to the second agreement, right?
It does.
Don't take anything personally.
Yes. That agreement is all about recognizing that other people's words and actions are more about them than about you.
I mean, it's easy to feel offended or hurt
It is.
when someone criticizes us or rejects us.
Oh, for sure. But Ruiz argues that those reactions are often rooted in our own insecurities, and past experiences.
He uses that analogy of a personal dream
Yes.
that each of us is living in.
Like a movie playing in our minds,
Yeah.
Our perceptions, our interpretations, they're colored by our own beliefs, our fears, our desires.
So when someone says something hurtful, it's like they're projecting their own movie onto us.
Exactly. Their words are more a reflection of their internal state than a reflection of our worth.
So how do we apply this in real life?
Yeah.
Let's say you get rejected for a job.
Okay.
Instead of taking it personally and like questioning your abilities, you could choose to see it as a mismatch of needs or expectations.
It's about detaching from the emotional charge of the situation, I think,
Yeah.
and recognizing that it's not a personal attack.
It's about understanding that everyone is operating from their own like unique perspective.
Exactly.
Okay, that's starting to make sense, but
Yeah.
it still feels challenging
It is.
to not take things personally, especially from people we care about.
I hear you. But remember, even the people closest to us, they're living in their own personal dreams,
Yeah,
you know?
their words and actions are often driven by their own insecurities
Yeah.
and unresolved issues.
Absolutely.
So the key is to not internalize their negativity or allow it to define our self-worth.
Right.
I guess it's about recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to other people's words and actions.
Exactly. We can choose to react defensively, or we can choose to respond with understanding and compassion.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
And it leads us to the third agreement, right?
It does.
Don't make assumptions.
Yes. This agreement is all about recognizing that our minds love to fill in the blanks.
We often create stories in our heads based on incomplete information.
And those stories can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and unnecessary drama.
It's like we're jumping to conclusions.
Yes, we are.
Without all the facts.
Ruiz uses the example of a woman who sees her husband looking grumpy and immediately assumes he's mad at her.
Oh, yeah.
Later, she finds out he just had a headache.
Huh.
Her assumption created unnecessary tension and conflict.
Happens all the time in relationships. We assume our partner knows what we're thinking or feeling without actually communicating.
Or we assume our boss is unhappy with our work without asking for feedback.
Right. Those assumptions can, poison our interactions
Really can.
and create a climate of distrust. So how do we break free from this habit of making assumptions?
The key is to replace assumptions with clear communication.
Okay.
Instead of guessing what someone is thinking or feeling, we should ask questions, seek clarification.
So instead of saying, you seem upset with me,
Right.
we could say, I'm noticing that you seem withdrawn.
Yeah.
Is there anything I've done to upset you?
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture of open and honest communication.
That makes so much sense. And I bet it can prevent a lot of unnecessary drama in our relationships.
Absolutely. And it's not just about romantic relationships, you know.
Right.
This principle applies to our interactions with family, friends, colleagues, everyone.
So don't make assumptions is like a golden rule
It is.
for healthy communication.
It's about creating a space for understanding and empathy.
Okay, we've covered 3 agreements so far. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. And don't make assumptions. What's the 4th and final agreement?
The 4th agreement is always do your best. This agreement is all about showing up fully in every moment and giving it your all.
But your best can vary from day to day, right?
Exactly. It's not about striving for perfection or pushing yourself to the point of burnout.
It's about recognizing your limitations and honoring your own unique rhythm.
Ruiz emphasizes the importance of self-compassion in this agreement.
So it's about being kind to ourselves.
Yes.
Even when we fall short of our own expectations.
Exactly. It's about celebrating the effort, not obsessing over the outcome.
He shares a story about a runner who participates in a marathon. He doesn't win, but he pushes himself to his limit.
Yeah.
And experiences this sense of joy and fulfillment.
It's a powerful reminder that true success lies in giving our best, regardless of the results.
So how can we apply this agreement in our daily lives?
It starts with becoming aware of our energy levels and acknowledging our limitations.
Okay.
Some days we may be able to tackle a challenging project with ease, while other days we may need to prioritize rest and self-care.
So always do your best is not a rigid rule.
No.
It's a flexible principle
Yes, it is.
that allows us to honor our own unique capacities.
Exactly. It's about showing up with a spirit of excellence while also embracing our human imperfections.
Okay, this 4th agreement feels like a powerful antidote to the pressure
It is.
to constantly achieve and be productive.
You got it. It's about finding a balance between striving for our goals and honoring our own well-being.
Wow, these 4 agreements: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. They seem like simple yet profound principles for living a more fulfilling life.
They offer a path to greater self-awareness, personal freedom, and harmonious relationships.
I'm already feeling inspired to incorporate these agreements into my own life.
And the beauty of the 4 agreements is that they can be applied to any area of our lives, you know?
Right.
From our personal relationships to our professional pursuits, everything.
So whether you're a seasoned professional, a curious millennial, or just starting your journey of self-discovery, these agreements have something to offer you.
It's never too late to rewrite the book of law in your mind.
Right.
And create a reality that aligns with your deepest values.
I'm hooked. Now let's dive deeper into each agreement
Okay.
and explore how they can transform our lives in practical ways. Stay with us.
As we go deeper into these agreements,
Right.
it becomes clear that they're all, interconnected.
Like pieces of a puzzle
Yeah.
that fit together to create a bigger picture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that picture is one of personal freedom and empowerment.
Okay. I'm ready to see how these pieces fit together.
Okay.
Let's start with be impeccable with your word.
Sure.
How can we actually practice this agreement in our daily lives?
Well, one powerful technique is to become aware of your self-talk.
Okay.
Notice the words you use when you're thinking about yourself.
Right.
Are you constantly criticizing yourself, or are you encouraging and supportive?
Mhm.
If you find that your inner dialogue is full of negativity, it's time to start rewriting that script.
It's like replacing a broken record with a new one that plays a more empowering tune.
Exactly. And remember, this applies to the words we use with others as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Not just ourselves.
So instead of gossiping or complaining, we could choose to focus on speaking words of kindness, appreciation, encouragement.
It's about making a conscious effort to use our words to uplift and inspire rather than to tear down or spread negativity.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
And it reminds me of the concept of domestication that we talked about earlier.
Right. The words we hear from childhood, they shape our beliefs and perceptions, often creating limiting narratives.
Yeah. So by becoming aware of those narratives and consciously choosing to speak words that align with our true selves,
Yes.
we can break free from that domestication.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming our power and shaping our own reality.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to don't take anything personally.
Okay.
This agreement seems especially challenging in a world where we're constantly bombarded with opinions and judgments.
It is challenging, but it's also incredibly liberating.
How so?
When we stop taking things personally, we free ourselves from the need to defend ourselves or prove our worth to others.
It's like we're taking off a heavy suit of armor that we've been wearing for years.
Exactly. And that armor is made up of all the insecurities, fears, and doubts that we've accumulated over time.
So by recognizing that other people's words and actions are often a projection of their own internal struggles,
Yes.
we can detach from the emotional charge of their negativity.
Right. It's about understanding that their behavior is more about them than about us.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this agreement can be applied in real-life situations.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you're working on a project with a colleague,
Okay.
and they give you some harsh feedback.
Instead of taking it personally and getting defensive,
Right.
you could choose to see it as an opportunity for growth.
You could ask clarifying questions.
Yes.
Seek to understand their perspective and use their feedback to improve your work.
Exactly. It's about separating the message from the messenger, I think.
Yeah.
And focusing on the objective rather than the emotional aspect of the situation.
Right. That's a great example.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the third agreement, don't make assumptions. How can we break free from the habit of filling in the blanks with our own stories?
The key is to become aware of when we're making assumptions.
Okay.
Often, we're not even conscious of it.
No.
It's like our minds are on autopilot, creating narratives
Yeah.
based on incomplete information.
So the first step is to notice those narratives.
Yes.
Pay attention to the stories you're telling yourself about other people's motivations or intentions.
And then what?
Yeah, then what?
Then you can start to question those stories. Ask yourself, is this really true? Do I have all the facts?
It's about replacing assumptions with curiosity.
Exactly. And that curiosity can lead to open and honest communication.
So instead of assuming that your partner is upset with you for no reason, you could ask, hey, I've noticed you seem a bit distant.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
Right. It's about creating a space for dialogue and understanding.
And that dialogue can prevent so much unnecessary conflict and misunderstanding.
Absolutely. Communication is key to healthy relationships, whether it's with a romantic partner, family member, friend, colleague, anyone.
Okay. I'm seeing how these first three agreements work together to create a foundation
Yes.
for more harmonious interactions.
They're all about taking responsibility for our own thoughts, words, and actions.
And recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to the world around us.
Exactly. Now let's move on to the fourth and final agreement. Always do your best. This agreement seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, it does. But I have a feeling there's more to it than meets the eye.
You're right. Always do your best is not about striving for perfection or pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion.
It's about showing up fully in each moment
Yes.
and giving it your all while also honoring your limitations.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that your best will vary from day to day.
Some days, your best may be running a marathon,
Mm-hmm.
while other days, your best may be simply resting and recharging.
It's about being present and adjusting your efforts accordingly.
So it's not about comparing ourselves to others
No,
or trying to live up to some external standard.
it's about finding our own rhythm and honoring our own unique journey.
I love that. And I think it's a powerful message for millennials,
Right.
who are often bombarded with messages about productivity and achievement.
Right. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle culture and feel like we're never doing enough.
But always do your best reminds us that it's okay to take breaks,
Yes.
to prioritize self-care, and to celebrate our progress along the way.
It's about finding a balance between striving for our goals and honoring our own well-being.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these 4 agreements create a framework for living a more fulfilling and authentic life.
They offer a path to greater self-awareness, personal freedom, and harmonious relationships.
But I have a question. How do we know if we're actually living by these agreements?
That's a great question. The key is to notice how you feel. When you're living in alignment with the 4 agreements, you'll experience a sense of peace, joy, and freedom.
Okay.
But when you're violating the agreements, you'll likely feel stressed, anxious, or resentful.
So it's about paying attention to your internal compass
Yes,
and making adjustments as needed.
exactly. It's about progress, not perfection.
Okay, that's reassuring because I know I'm not going to be able to live by these agreements perfectly all the time.
That's okay. None of us can. The key is to keep practicing and keep learning.
And to remember that the 4 agreements are not a set of rules, but rather a guide to living a more fulfilling life.
They offer a path to greater self-awareness, personal freedom, and harmonious relationships.
And who wouldn't want that? As we've been exploring the 4 agreements, it's become so clear that they're not just these abstract concepts,
Yeah,
they're
totally.
practical tools we can use every single day.
Definitely.
So I'm actually curious to hear from our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
how are they applying these agreements in their own lives?
Me too. We got some insightful questions and comments,
I bet.
and I'm excited to, get into them.
Me too. Let's
Awesome.
start with this one. Okay. From Sarah. She asks, I struggle with negative self-talk. How can I be more impeccable with my words, towards myself?
That's a great question, Sarah, and one that a lot of us can relate to. Remember, be impeccable with your word applies to that inner voice too.
Yeah, it's like we have this inner critic
Yeah.
just constantly putting us down.
Totally. So the first step is, becoming aware of that negative self-talk. Notice those critical thoughts without judgment.
Like hitting the pause button on that inner monologue.
Exactly. Then you can start to challenge those thoughts. Ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is it helpful?
And if not, how can you reframe it
Right. Yeah.
in a more positive and empowering way?
Totally. It's about replacing those negative scripts with ones that, support your growth and well-being.
Okay, so instead of saying, I'm such a failure,
Yeah.
you could say, I'm learning and growing from this experience.
Exactly. It takes
Uh.
practice, but over time you can train your mind to focus on the positive.
Love that. Okay, here's a question from Michael. He asks, how do you deal with people who don't seem to be living by the 4 agreements? It can be frustrating when you're putting in the effort, but others aren't.
I totally get Michael's frustration. It's natural to want the people around us to embrace these principles.
For sure.
But as we've talked about, we can only control our own actions and reactions.
Right, so when someone's being, disrespectful or hurtful, remember, their behavior is a reflection of their own internal state, not a reflection of you.
Totally. It's like they're projecting their own movie onto you.
Exactly. And sometimes the best response is just to,
Yeah.
detach from the situation. You don't have to engage in every argument or try to change someone who's not ready to change.
No, you don't. It's about setting healthy boundaries and protecting your own energy.
Right. But does that mean we should just ignore bad behavior?
Not necessarily. You can still address the issue, but from a place of compassion and understanding.
So instead of saying you're being a jerk, you
Right.
say I'm feeling hurt by your words. Can we talk about this?
Exactly. It's about communicating your needs clearly and respectfully while also, recognizing the other person's perspective.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's take one more question.
Okay.
This one's from Maria. She asks, what's the best advice you can give for someone who's just starting out, on their journey with the 4 agreements?
That's a great question, Maria. My advice: start small. Choose one agreement that really resonates with you and focus on practicing it consistently.
Yeah, don't try to do everything at once.
No, not at all. It's about baby steps and being patient with yourself.
And remember, progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to slip up.
Exactly. Just notice when you deviate from the agreement and gently guide yourself back.
It's like learning a new skill. It takes time and practice.
Totally. And don't be afraid to, seek support. Talk to friends, family, or a therapist if you're struggling.
For sure. There are so many resources out there
There
to
are.
help you on this journey.
Absolutely. And remember, the journey itself is the reward. As you practice the 4 agreements, you'll start to experience greater peace, joy, and fulfillment in your life.
Well, it looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into the 4 agreements. I don't know about you, but I feel really inspired to revisit these powerful principles in my own life.
Me too. They offer a timeless roadmap to a more fulfilling and meaningful existence.
And as we wrap up, we want to leave you with a challenge, okay? Choose one agreement that speaks to you and commit to practicing it this week. Just this week.
And notice how it shifts, your perspective, your relationships, and your overall well-being.
And remember, the power to transform your life lies within you.
Embrace the 4 agreements and watch as your world starts to change in beautiful and unexpected ways.
Until next time.